Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. Chase Sr. here with you. Thanks to everybody for supporting and watching our NFL free agency coverage. A lot of content on the show yesterday. We were live for 6 hours, put 3 videos up on the channel. We're live once again for day 2. And Philadelphia still has not yet made a move. But I'm going to tell Eagles fans to stop panicking, because this is kind of Howie Roseman's MO. We'll get to that. A lot of news happening across the NFL. We'll talk Dallas Goedert, Jalen Carter update. The New England Patriots just signed Romeo Doubs. What does that mean for the Patriots' pursuit of A.J. Brown? It's all coming up, but first, you know the drill. Anytime there's Eagles news, we're talking about it here on the show. So hit that subscribe button. And if you want more free agency coverage or nonstop Eagles talk, lock us in. Hit that subscribe button as we approach 150,000 subscribers. So let's begin here in talking about the Eagles. The start of free agency this year, very similar to the start of free agency last year. And I know that fans can get very tied to players, and it can be emotional seeing a lot of players, especially those who have helped the Eagles get to Super Bowls and win Super Bowls, leave. But this is the tough business aspect of the National Football League. And so 4 starters yesterday left the Eagles. They made $116 million in guaranteed money. Last year on day 1 of free agency, we remember what happened. Josh Sweat, focal point for the Eagles for years, got $19 million per year from the Arizona Cardinals. Milton Williams, great in that Super Bowl against Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes is still having nightmares. Got $26 million per year from the New England Patriots. So, yes, March and April traditionally is known as Howie season. But outside of a couple of years ago when the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley, Howie kind of lets all of the other teams make the big splash moves early in free agency. He lets other teams overpay. They set the market, and then Howie is able to make his Howie type of deals, and he's able to save a lot of coin and sign players to these contracts, which end up being steals. There's also this with the Eagles, right? You think about where they are as an organization. 2025, the most cash spent on offense in the National Football League. That's why the offensive performance last year under Kevin Patullo was so unacceptable. That's why the Eagles are changing the scheme and the play caller. The Eagles last year on defense, one of the top units in the NFL. Last 2 years, they've combined to be the number 2 total defense in the NFL. But last year, one of the youngest defensive units, one of the cheapest defensive units. That soon is going to change. Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Jalen Carter, all up for contract extensions soon. And some now. Jordan Davis on Saturday got $26 million per year. So while the Eagles have lost a lot of players, and we'll talk about them coming up, and it's tough to see quality players go, it speaks to the roster talent acquisition of Howie Roseman, but Philadelphia is also trying to keep some of those players that I talked about here and budget money for those guys. And so what the Eagles are going to do in turn is start to draft and develop on offense. And we're going to see over the next couple of years a new era for offensive skill players and offensive players in general on that side of the pill. Now, let's talk about some of the players who the Eagles lost. Jaelan Phillips. He got a 4-year, $120 million contract with Carolina yesterday. $80 million in guaranteed money. That is $30 million per season. The Eagles wanted to retain Jaelan Phillips. He was a part of their offseason plan. He was a part of my perfect free agency plan. I had heard at the Combine, Eagles were interested in bringing him back. They wanted to bring him back at around $20 million. $30 million for a guy who medically retired in college due to a neck injury, has torn his ACL and Achilles at the NFL level. Let him walk. Let Carolina overpay. That's fine. Now, do the Eagles have a need at pass rusher? Yes, they do, but they can address it. Trade for Jonathan Grenard, as I talked about yesterday. Sign a Bradley Chubb. Address it in the NFL draft. A couple of different avenues there. Maybe they pay some coin for Trey Hendrickson, although if Phillips got $30 million per year, Hendrickson's probably like, yeah, I should get something close to that as well. For Jahan Dotson, I never thought he was going to come back to the Eagles. He got paid. He signed with Atlanta on a 2-year, $15 million contract. That's good for $7.5 million per season. He got $10 million in guaranteed money. The Eagles were never paying that. They would have given him a vet min maybe, but you think about his usage in this offense. He was the pre-snap motion guy. Outside of that, didn't get a lot of targets. And so now the Eagles could draft a wide receiver in the first round, second round. They have a top 30 visit set with Omar Cooper out of Indiana. And maybe Omar Cooper can be the number 3 wide receiver alongside A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Maybe Omar Cooper won't be drafted by the Eagles. Maybe Darius Cooper competes for that wide receiver 3 spot. And Darius Cooper, or even Omar Cooper, would be cheaper than a Jahan Dotson. Remember, the Eagles also like Johnny Wilson as a blocker. How about Nakobe Dean? He has been a focal point of this Eagles defense and this Eagles culture, but he's dealt with injuries. Every year he's been in the NFL, he's had some type of injuries, a little bit of an undersized backer. He's a great spiritual leader, and the Eagles defense plays differently when he's on the field. He is a tone setter. He's excellent against the run. He's great and elite as a blitzer. He's really good in coverage. Eagles had an interest in bringing him back, but they also have Jahad Campbell, who's a much better athlete and has more upside and potential. They had Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who has a lot of the same qualities that Nakobe Dean has. And the Eagles weren't paying Nakobe Dean 3 years, $36 million, $12 million per year, and $20 million in guaranteed money. The Reid Blakenship one is interesting. He got $8.25 from Houston. He had made under like $6 million in his entire NFL career. Former UDFA. He didn't make a lot of money with the Eagles. But when you compare what the Eagles paid him last year to $8.25, that's a drastic difference. So the Eagles could have afforded Reid Blakenship, no doubt about it, at that price tag of $8.25 per season. But compared to what they had been paying him, that's a lot of money as far as the difference there. I do think it's pretty telling that the defense that I thought was the best in the NFL last year looks at Reid Blakenship as a starter. I've seen a lot of people say, Reid Blakenship isn't that good of a player. D'Amico Ryans and the Texans have the best defense in the NFL. And they just signed Reid Blakenship as a starter. He's a good player, made big play after big play. You don't have to worry about his character at all. But good for Reid Blakenship. The Eagles weren't willing to pay that price. Sign C.J. Gardner-Johnson for a cheaper deal. This is a deep safety class where you can find a very affordable player at a fraction of the cost of what Blankenship is making. So, a lot of Eagles fans on social media, it's a very loud place, are very vocal saying, what is Howie doing? You look at some of the money that some of the teams spent yesterday. The Raiders, $281.5 million. Haven't won a playoff game since 2003. Tennessee Titans, $219.5. When was the last time they were a true Super Bowl contender? They got the number 1 seed with Ryan Tannehill, but come on now. The Washington Commanders, $209.5 million. The New Orleans Saints, $193.2. Carolina Panthers, $172.5. Indianapolis Colts, $136. New York Giants, $130. Jets, $122.5. Steelers, $117. Bears, $117. Chiefs, $113.75. Bengals, $102.5. A lot of overpays on that list. And of those teams, how many of them have been true Super Bowl contenders of late? The Kansas City Chiefs, that's it. The Eagles, they spent $0 yesterday. The Packers, 3.75. They're always competitive. The Bills, Super Bowl contender, 25.1. The Lions, Super Bowl contender, 25 mil. The Ravens, 30 mil. They did acquire Max Crosby. Jags, really good team, 33 mil. So you see what I'm getting at there, right? Don't panic. If there is somebody to trust, it's this man here to my right, in General Manager Howie Roseman. As far as a Jalen Carter update, There is a difference between teams calling about Jalen Carter and the Eagles shopping Jalen Carter. If the Eagles are indeed shopping Jalen Carter, red flags, siren emojis, because the Eagles have been very insistent on paying their own players. They invest in their own. They draft, develop, and reward the players who they have invested in. If they're shopping Jalen Carter, that tells me they don't trust him and they don't want to give him a deal. But it seems like the Eagles know he's a star player with elite talent and he is a priority as far as locking up to a long-term deal. And Bill Colorado of 97.5 The Fanatic had this to say on the radio, I believe yesterday. The Jalen Carter trade rumors are anything but. It is the complete opposite. They are in discussions for the long-term contract extension for Jalen Carter as we speak. So I would not be shocked if we get that news in the next 24 hours that Jalen Carter, just like Jordan Davis, enters into a long-term contract with the Eagles. Elliott Shore-Parks also said they will sign Jalen Carter to a long-term deal. And that's what I want the Eagles to do. It is very rare that you come across a player with this type of ability, this type of talent, and this type of potential who is 24, about to be 25 years old. You don't get rid of players like that unless you have some serious questions, whether it be character or injuries. But if the Eagles invest in him, it tells you everything that you need to know. We'll talk Dallas Goedert, Omar Cooper, Romeo Doubs, and A.J. Brown coming up here in just a second. But if you want an Eagles Now shirt, get it now. We sold a bunch of these so far today on our live show. Get yours. You can rep the show. You can support the Birds. I'll be rocking these soon on air. I just wanted to look good for day 2 of free agency, but the logo is so clean. And if you are a true, real one, get an Eagles Now shirt. Available for only $24.99. Really high-quality shirts as well. Chatsports.com/EaglesNow. Chatsports.com/EaglesNow. Become a real one today and get an Eagles Now shirt. As for Dallas Goedert, I feel like with Goedert, the more that time wears on, the more likely it is that Dallas Goedert returns to the Eagles. And in free agency, you see a lot of overpays. You see market-setting deals. For instance, Tyler Linderbaum is getting $27 million per season from the Las Vegas Raiders. That's $9 million more than what Creed Humphrey was making and is making as the highest paid center in the NFL. That is a market reset. At the tight end position, though, I don't think the market has helped out Dallas Goedert if he was looking to get a bag. And in turn, I think this benefits the Eagles' chances of being able to retain Dallas Goedert. The most sound approach, bring back Dallas Goedert for $8 to $10 million per season. He's been a high-level tight end ever since coming into the league in 2018. You draft a tight end, you develop him, and then you have a better 1-2 punch at the tight end spot than what you've had with Dallas Goedert and Grant Calcaterra. Bring a tight end in who can catch balls but also block. Eli Stowers, really athletic. Kenyon Sadiq would be a first-round target. Sam Roush out of Stanford, huge, runs well, can block. Oscar Delt, Max Clare, solid options to look at in the draft. And there are all types of different tight ends that you can find day 1, day 2, and day 3. I just feel like the Dallas Goedert situation is turning into a positive one for the Eagles, where they're waiting out the market. Goedert hasn't gotten a lot of huge offers, and it increases the likelihood that Dallas Goedert could return to the Eagles. Ryan Fowler with this report, and this is the first official top 30 visit set for Philadelphia, that Indiana star wide receiver Omar Cooper Jr. is going to meet with the Eagles for a top 30 visit. Fernando Mendoza compared him to Deebo Samuel in his prime. Deebo Samuel in his prime was the best yak wide receiver in football statistically. He was a first-team All-Pro in 2021. His usage by Kyle Shanahan was fascinating. He was used as a running back, otherwise deemed as a wide back, inside, outside, and then creating routes to allow him to pick up yards after the catch, whether it be a bubble screen, whether it be a crosser. But Debo has never been the most natural hands catcher or route runner, and he can't beat man. I think Omar Cooper is physical like Debo, but he's got more natural hands, and he's a better route runner. And the play that he made to win the game against Penn State, climbed the ladder, went up and got it, snatched the ball out of the air, 2 feet down, big boy stuff. Be an interesting player at number 23 for the Eagles, which brings us to A.J. Brown. If the Eagles were to draft Omar Cooper Jr., does it signal that the Eagles do trade away A.J. Brown? Well, a couple different ways to look at this. It'd be hard to move off of A.J. because of the dead cap number. We've talked about that. But if the Eagles can't work out a trade in the lead up to the draft, what if they draft Omar Cooper at 23? Then that allows them to get an A.J. Brown replacement to soften the blow there. And then they could maybe trade A.J. Brown post June 1. Albert Breer had this report. We've mentioned how the Patriots, Chiefs, Chargers, Bills were the teams on A.J. Brown's wish list, and that New England appeared to be the only team from that group really on the idea of trading for the 28-year-old three-time All-Pro. He's been a three-time All-Pro with the Eagles in 4 years. That would seem to give the Patriots some leverage. But on the flip side, Brown is really the only top-shelf receiver on the trade market, which gives the Eagles leverage, or maybe putting those two elements together will just turn this into a staring contest. Time will tell. Breer reported that in a column this morning. What has happened? Well, the Bills traded for DJ Moore. They showed interest in AJ. The New England Patriots just signed Romeo Doubs. Does the signing of Romeo Doubs to New England impact their pursuit of A.J. Brown? And is the asking price simply too high for A.J.? And there are conflicting reports on what this deal is for Romeo Doubs, but I really like this move for New England. They released Stephon Diggs. He's over the hill. Back end of his career. Romeo Doubs is 25. He's ascending. Good route runner. Slippery in the open field. Can make plays downfield. I like him a lot. Does have some drop issues. Isn't the most physical after the catch. But if you get creative with how to design routes for him, Doubs is a fantastic player. He's wearing the Guardian cap because he's had 2 concussions. Both of them when his head hit the ground. A little bit of a concern, but that's why he's wearing the Guardian cap right now. He's signing with the Patriots on a 4-year, $68 million deal. Adam Schefter was on the Pat McAfee show, and he did say, I don't think this completely takes the Patriots out of the A.J. Brown trade sweepstakes, but it could impact that. We'll see. Like with anything, so much is up in the air right now, but blockbuster move for New England. They couldn't get Alec Pierce. They settle for Romeo Doubs. And what is that? $18 million per year? What is it? 48? 17 per year for Romeo Doubs. If it is that, that's a pretty damn good deal. Given that Alec Pierce got 29 and there's not much of a gap between Alec Pierce and Romeo Doubs. All right, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more free agency and offseason coverage right here on the show. Thanks for being a real one. And don't forget to keep it locked here on the channel because whenever news comes in, we'll be talking about it.